Hey everyone, quick update on the latest developments out of Italy on the citizenship front and what it could mean for those of you waiting for clarity around Decree 36 and its conversion into law as Senate Bill DDL 1432. And it's been an interesting 24 hours. Yesterday evening, information began circulating in one of the major online dual citizenship communities indicating that the decree was likely to be signed into law largely as it was originally written and without any major revisions, possibly via a vote of confidence. This made everybody quite upset. And then earlier today, the Italian Senate's Constitutional Affairs Committee approved a series of 23 amendments to Article 1 of DDL 1432. This is the section that defines who qualifies for Italian citizenship by descent. And these amendments aim to soften some of the more restrictive aspects of Decree 36, including the two-generational limit, harsh cutoffs, and strict documentation requirements. That made everyone happy again, yay, but then later today, information was released by the Senate indicating that several of the amendments had been reformulated and combined into a unified version presented through a non-binding order of the day. Now, this appears to have reintroduced some of the earlier restrictions and weakened the effect of some of the most promising proposals. This made everybody sad again. So as you can see, this is starting to feel a bit like watching a tennis match as the ball bounces back and forth rather than announcing each time the ball goes over the net. I'd like to focus on updates around the major milestones, the ones that signal concrete movement in a particular direction. So over the coming week or two, there will likely be much more back and forth, and I'll focus on sharing updates that seem likely to have a lasting or final impact of some kind on eligibility and the process. Still, today's events included some meaningful developments. On the legislative front, we saw what we've been hoping for, which is amendments aimed at relaxing the restrictiveness of the decree. And one of the most significant amendments came from the Lega Party and proposed removing the requirement that your Italian ancestor had to be born in Italy. Instead, eligibility would be based on having a parent or grandparent who was an Italian citizen at birth, even if they were born abroad. And as long as their Italian status was documented, you were good. However, in the reformulated version, this amendment was unfortunately merged with others and reintroduces certain limitations. Now, eligibility may be narrowed to cases where your parent or grandparent was an Italian citizen at the time of your birth and either held only Italian citizenship at the time of their death or lived in Italy for at least 2 consecutive years before your birth, so much more restrictive. These new conditions could once again exclude many people who would have benefited under the original amendment language. Several other amendments were approved to protect applicants who had already taken steps toward citizenship. These create possible exceptions to the March 27, 2025 cutoff for people who had booked consular and municipal appointments, requested appointments, were placed on wait lists, had begun the documentation process, or had communications with Italian authorities before that date. Taken together, these amendments all appeared to soften some of the harsher restrictions introduced by Decree 36 back in March. And that was very welcome news for many people. Then, as mentioned later today, the Senate passed this non-binding order of the day, which consolidates several of the previously approved amendments into a unified set of recommendations for the government. This document urges the government to adjust specific restrictive elements of Decree 36, such as the two-generational limit and the requirement for an ancestor to have been born in or resided in Italy. And while the motion expresses the Senate's political intent, it doesn't carry the full force of law, and it does not itself change the bill's text. So what's next? Well, as mentioned earlier, we're likely to see much more back and forth as the final legislative text is hammered out, and the full Senate will eventually debate and vote on the entire bill, including a revised Article 1 once that's finalized, possibly as early as next week. From there, the bill will move to the Chamber of Deputies, where it could be further debated, modified, or approved. And if the chamber makes changes, the bill will return to the Senate for final approval. So again, while there have been some developments that are encouraging, nothing is final yet, and the legal text could still evolve. So, though it does seem very likely that the decree and its conversion bill, DDL 1432, will be signed into law, and that there does appear to be some capitulation, some deal making happening to get the bill to the point that the government would like it to be. It's still up in the air how things are going to ultimately settle out in the end. I guess that's no surprise. And some of these elements, such as the minor issue, remains unresolved, and it may not be until the decree is signed into law and then there's subsequent implementation guidelines that are put out before we're really going to know for sure whether or not the issues like the minor issue are going to carry forward. And then we've got Bill DDL 1450 coming along behind it, which may introduce more changes still. So lots left to be seen on how this is all going to play out. But good news that, at least so far, the decree law does not seem as though it will be signed into law exactly as it was written, with all of the restrictiveness that was originally included in it. Now, of course, I'll continue to monitor all official publications and break them down for you as they're released. Now, if you need help understanding the changing laws, your eligibility, and the process, I do offer affordable 20, 30, and 60-minute consultations, which you can book on my website at italiandual.com. And I thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.